If we integrate the water harvesting, in their case, they got 10 times the flood control capacity of this conventional command, control, convey system. By moving to a decentralized, dispersed perspective, the point source issue, like Anna was telling me that in the 60s and 70s, your lakes weren't so happy here. And then you all apparently got on board with the point sources and the big pipes and the obvious polluters. Pretty easy. That was the low-hanging fruit. Same thing happened in the States. The non-point source pollution, the dispersed flows off of different land uses, is really where the tough stuff is at, and that's where LIDs come about. And I think you won't ever get at non-point source pollution with centralized solutions. You have to go decentralized because the pollution is decentralized at some level, right? Or site-specific kind of stuff. Seattle's really pretty good at this. They've got their natural drainage systems. And I like this quote in their report that, you can't see it up there, but it says, what if instead of grabbing it in pipes, rainwater was slowed and stopped at the source in private yards and parking lots along the city streets and allowed to soak into the earth? And those kinds of statements, just asking that question, I think are provocative, to say the least, right? And I don't know if you've looked at their street edge alternatives. This is one of the first streets they did as a retrofit. Put the curbs in the street, added in rain gardens and rain gardens. They got sidewalks and better parking and traffic calming and improved flood control conveyance and improved water quality and benefits to salmonids. They got the federal stick off their head. And the property values in this neighborhood are appraising. Last time somebody told me this about a year and a half ago, I don't know what happened to the whole mortgage thing. They were appraising at about 10% more than the houses in the neighborhoods that hadn't had just the street changed. What would water want? What's that look like? Portland, really innovative stuff, I think you all know, and they've done a similar thing, looked at specific sub-watersheds in the city. And this watershed, because they have combined sewer stormwater, when the stormwater and the sewer go together, there's too much, and that manhole pops up, and then brown trout start floating down the street in a fancy neighborhood, and the phone rings, and all you politicians know that you're going to respond. And that was the driver on this. And so they had a 2000, from 2000, what are they going to do with combined sewers, stormwater, and map that out? And that was a $144 million concept. And after they got the LID religion, they rethought it out and basically tweaked it, adding different parking lot stormwater roofs and sustainable stuff. And it's going to cost $86 million instead of $144 up front to do this with all of the green amenities. So they're saving basically $58 million with a greener, better, more livable city. So I think the economics have shown themselves to be warranted. And if you don't think that we can't play this game in the drier parts of the world, then go to Los Angeles and look at the work of tree people. Go to a website called the Sun Valley Watershed. This was the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles, an area with an inch of rain. They hadn't drained it yet, so the school was under 2 foot of water. And the Army Corps of Engineers came in with the flood control district and said, for $60 million, we'll pave it, we'll pipe it, we'll trapezoidally channelize it to the LA River and make it go away. And the community said, nah, we would rather have new soccer fields, improve the ones we got. We want daylighted streams and creeks. We want water in for local water supply and security. And they came up with a plan, did the cost benefit on it. It was $100 million up front to basically give them a bunch of new ball fields, improving every other ball field, having a series of these underground storm chambers, infiltration basins, because they've got a highly infiltrative gravel, sand-based type of system, and reduce their demand on water from the Colorado and the Sierras. And they're going to save $400 million over 20 years. And the City of LA and County of LA's flood control departments have changed their names to Departments of Watershed Management. So they got really clear. If you manage the watershed, your flood issue is significantly decreased. And they've done 6 of these projects now throughout LA. Their estimate is that they retrofitted a full retrofit of LID type thinking throughout the Los Angeles basin. They could meet 50% of their water need within the rainfall that falls in their basin with an 8-inch average rainfall in that system. So they're just wasting water at this point. San Francisco combined sewer stormwater system, and they really have problems with pollution in the bay. So here's a cross section if you were looking north in the San Francisco Peninsula with the ocean to the west and our San Francisco Bay to the east of what it would have looked like back when it had wetlands and creeks and lakes and dunes. Here's the paved pipe polluted paradigm. And this is their low impact design. They're not developing, it's about design because they're already developed, of taking existing infrastructure but basically putting a green icing on that cake. And this is the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission driving this agenda forward, and they're all the muscle they got is going into that vision right now for the whole city. And so they've got really great stormwater design guidelines and lots of information on their website. The single largest landowner in the city and county of San Francisco is the Unified School District. And we have a school garden teacher training program. We have 100 schools in the city that do ecological literacy-based curriculum. So we're looking at edible schoolyard, but what's a potable schoolyard? What's a drinkable schoolyard? And these are a couple books that came out of some of our collaborators, this Asphalt Ecosystems and the San Francisco Green Schoolyard Alliance school garden book. And I can tell you, if you work with the kids and engage in the K-12 part of things before the cerebral imperviousness is really hardened in adult era, when they're really open and porous in their headwaters as the youth, and get them on this thing, the benefits to learning about the whole system, they eat better, nutrition is better, obesity is down, diabetes is down, performance in the school is down. So you all are, I understand, are what, 49% into your health thing here and 25% or so into schools was the recent number? The budget, your budget, I just was told. So how do we increase the education by paying for school gardens and potable schoolyards and get the kids on board with that so they're healthier, and take that chunk off the health budget and scoot it over here and have a preventative system that starts in the schoolyard by asking what would water want in an integrated curriculum. So I'm back to your lifeboat. You're either going to convince your community to get on board and pull in the same direction, and I'm preaching to the choir, but the choir needs practice, and we all should sing in tune here together, and then you can go out and try it out on your friends and family at Thanksgiving. They're like, what? You got water on the brain? And you're like, yeah, I do. And get into clarity that land use planning is water use planning. There is no separation. Those are one and the same. Where I come from, water flows uphill to money. It seems to be the case up here. And you got to participate in democracy. You're going to have to step up to the mic, and if Totem Salmon's got to have something to say to the Board of Civics, then so be it. But if we don't, where I'm at, it appears we're getting a lot of freedom, which is free dumb, D-U-M-B. All right? We're free to be dumb because we have a disconnected, apathetic proletariat. And that's why I'm thankful you all have invited me to come live in the Okanagan, because things are not looking so good down south. So I don't know, you tell me, are you part of the problem? Are you part of the solution or the precipitate? Can you precipitate the change that's needed here? Can you make that move and engage in what I call conservation hydrology? Right? How do we adapt our water footprint towards a regenerative, rehydrative, receiving, recharging, retaining, releasing retrofit of human land use that ultimately connects and reconnects? In my case, the creeks are clear, cold, and copious for coho. You could say kokanee. Still got the alliteration, which I'm happy about. What is that going to look like? What is that going to look like? And so I got the Slow Water Manifesto. There's slow food, but if you don't have a Slow Water Manifesto, which basically says you got to slow it, spread it, sink it, but you darn well better think it. And so that's really about rainwater harvesting first before you get to rainwater harvesting. And I thank you for your attention.
I'm speechless. Never happens to me. If any of the rest of you aren't speechless, we have a couple of minutes for questions. Yeah, Phil.
If the tragedy of this room is that you're talking to people who the message is easily to get to, and for most of them they have to somehow push that message up the pipeline. If we could arrange a return visit where we guarantee you a tour of the valley to sample all the wines in the valley, and if we could collect all those politicians together in one place so that it didn't become so much bottom pushing up, would you come back?
Sure.
Quite honestly,
Where I come from, we say, stop it some more.
How many, there's one mayor here. One single mayor. Lots of councilors?
Who's here?
Well, at least four of them. Okay. Well, never mind, forget the wine then. It's okay.
We'll
we got it solved, don't need to worry.
Keep preaching on the radio, though.
No, it just strikes me that your message is one that I think needs mayors and councils to be pushing down and working a whole lot harder with Anna and her group and really concentrating. This summer, going into the summer, we were worried. The big lake was down, oh my God, we're going to be short of water, and then it rained like hell in June, and everybody said, oh, we don't have a problem at all. And all those messages of water conservation kind of just sort of slid off the edge of the table.
I mean, I think you just got to work every angle you can, and there's the political, legislative angle on this piece, and then there's just the people in the street, and which lever you pull, and you know, there's that great Archimedes quote about give me a place to stand and a lever big enough and I could move the world. So what I'm interested in is take your stand, and I think you're taking a stand for the Okanagan. Figure out where your leverage is in that system. The lever you're designing is basically this vision of a rain to resource retrofit, and then convince everybody you can, and that's people, that's school kids, that's local business, that's the wine industry, and that's the politicians, everybody who lives in your lifeboat. So each of you all have different demographic sectors that you have influence and leverage with, and you're all going to have to go out and leverage the whole piece of the puzzle. And sometimes the cry will come from the grassroots, and sometimes the policy goes down, and you have these nested jurisdictions that are both vertically nested and horizontally interactive and engaged. And social change happens through that multiplicity of the connectivity between people interfacing with each other.
If you want to get the message across to your mayors and councillors, I urge you to go to the Environmental Law Clinic website, the University of Victoria Environmental Law Clinic website. The video that was shown this morning is on that website. It's a 10-minute video, and councils eat it up. We've been showing it to the Capital Regional District. They loved it. We were showing it to Victoria Swinell, but it's on the website. Show it to them. It takes 10 minutes.
My observation is you've got amazing spokespeople in this community, and just the folks I've interacted with here on the Okanagan Water Board. You guys got all the brain power you need to pitch this message and work it through. I mean, I'm happy to come back for the wine, but my carbon footprint to get me up here is, right? Yep.
One quick, thank you very much, by the way. That was a great job. And I'm a politician, so
I won't hold
make
against
sure
you.
the rest of our council gets it. But I was particularly interested in your asphalt to ecosystem with using the school properties, because we do have school properties that where local government's still fighting the school boards about using community taxpayer land in some other use than the school if it's not being used as a school. How do you get to doing an ecosystem on that school property?
I mean, we've gotten in with the schools via nutritional education, obesity, diabetes issues, and the ecological literacy around school gardens. It's called place-based education, where you teach the multiple intelligences. And we wrote a series of curricula that we passed through the California state standards, so you could teach garden education and be in compliance with what's called our science framework, so that they can still pass their little STAR test, their little test that the kids have to pass each grade. So we went at it through a curricular link by building relationships with the principal, with teachers, with the parents, with the janitorial staff, and it's been school by school until there's been enough critical mass. In the case of San Francisco, they created the Green Schoolyard Alliance, and when they had bond money to retrofit schools, these folks stepped up and said, we'd like a retrofit, but instead of paving it more so we can have more basketball courts or volleyball courts, tetherball, we would rather have increased green space. And we see that you guys in San Francisco, that case there, that you're up against it for impervious surfaces because you've got this combined sewer stormwater, and you need to reduce that, and your largest landowner in the city county is the school district. So let's invest the money in the public property on behalf of the city and the Bay, the students themselves, improve that overall interaction. And so there's just been it's been a 15-year-long collaborative that's got policy folks, on the ground folks, educators, books and things, and asphalt eco